The International Committee of the Red Cross, the International Relations Department here in South Africa, and Commonwealth are all hosting a conference on international humanitarian law in Pretoria. The gathering seeks to assess the implementation of international humanitarian law as the world battles a number of conflicts. Khayelihle Khumalo is part of our team watching the developments and joins us now live from Pretoria. And how timely a gathering like this, Khayelihle, given the concerns around an escalation of violence in the Middle East?
Well, that's right, and it's an absolutely important time. Like you just alluded, that the world is really battling with a number of conflicts. And just a very critical gathering, really, to sharpen the international humanitarian law. So there are so many experts from Red Cross, from DECO, and many other very important guests here in South Africa, especially because this is a country that has been at the forefront, being very vocal about making sure that the international law is supported at all times. And like you just said, the very untenable situation in the Middle East, and as you know, that international humanitarian law is very important, especially for those who are caught up in the conflict. But joining us now is Dr. Anne Quintin from Red Cross. Thank you so much indeed, ma'am, for your time. Looking at the importance of today, I mean, for the next 5 days, you'll have time to look at how do we make it better in terms of the observation of the international humanitarian law. But just give us the significance of today.
Thank you very much. So as you said, this week we are hosting the Commonwealth Red Cross and Red Crescent Conference on International Humanitarian Law. We're very happy to have around 31 states present today, as well as 26 national societies of the Red Cross and Red Crescent, representing over 4 or 5 continents. And so the purpose of this week is really to gather good practices in the implementation and the promotion of the rules that regulate warfare. So all the states and national societies representatives present this week will come with the good practices at the domestic level on how they contribute to ensuring better respect for IHL.
And just once again, Doctor, I mean, looking at the African continent, for example, you have hotspots like in Sudan and also the eastern part of DRC and many other conflict areas as well. I would imagine this is absolutely important so that in the midst of the conflict, you know, those key obligations are not forgotten by the warring parties.
Exactly. And I think, as you said, it is even more important as this year marks the 75th anniversary of the adoption of the Geneva Conventions, which are at the core of the regulations of conflict. And indeed, today, as we mark this anniversary, what we see at the same time is that we still have many conflicts across the globe, as you said, also on the African continent. The rules of IHL, international humanitarian law, remain as necessary as ever to protect the civilian populations in all those conflicts. And our call for this conference is really to ensure that we can do even better in terms of compliance with the rules of law. They have proven that they can protect civilians, that they can protect also combatants, protected during armed conflict if they are respected by all the warring parties. And so this is really one of the messages in this conference.
And obviously, before I let you go, Doctor, I mean, it's a very terrible situation in the Middle East, the escalation of the conflict, and so many parties really, they've been calling for a de-escalation. Maybe just once again, before I let you go, Doctor, what can countries do in terms of making sure that they really understand that if there is a conflict, an armed conflict, you know, women, children, the most vulnerable members of our society at all times, you know, they're just given a space where they're not really just their rights.
Thank you. I think, as you mentioned, it is many conflicts that we see today, and what we would like to see is really that all states in the world all have a duty to ensure that IHL is respected during warfare, and so any state in the world, even from a distance, can call on more respect from parties to the conflict, can take measures, including diplomatic measures, to ensure that those rules are respected. But of course, the primary responsibility for respecting the rules lie with the parties involved in the armed conflicts themselves. And so today, we really call on all parties to respect IHL in all armed conflicts that exist.
Dr. Quintin, thank you so much indeed for your time. So, and really just giving us a snapshot about the importance of over the next 5 days here in Pretoria. As you know, that it's all about making sure that the international humanitarian law is respected by all parties, especially given all these terrible challenges that we face in so many parts of the world.